Jacksonville rapper was convicted today on a gun possession charge. Therese Powell, who performs under the name Kshordy, was found guilty of firearms possession by a juvenile delinquent with a prior felony conviction. This is just one of several local cases in which a performer's own music has been used against him. Prosecutors showed jurors a video they said tracked word for word the incident that led to his arrest. He faces up to 15 years in prison for the gun conviction. He also has a pending case in which he faces 3 counts of murder and attempted murder. He's due back in court next Thursday.
Imagine being the next big thing out of Jacksonville, your name ringing bells in the streets, your music finally popping off, views climbing, fans showing love. Then, everything crashes because you did something unforgivable in the streets. You snitched. You pointed out the guys who killed your girlfriend in a police lineup. But here's where it gets insane. You didn't stop there. You didn't run. You didn't hide. You went right back to the same streets, right back to the same ops, right back to catching more bodies.
I caught a charge. I had gotten an altercation and shot somebody. And they tried to charge me with 4 attempted murders.
Oh shit.
Because I shot in the crowd.
And now you're sitting in a cell, facing life in prison, and you're begging one of your biggest enemies to come testify for you in court. The same guy you tried to kill. This is Kshordy, Jacksonville native, rising rapper, street legend turned snitch turned shooter. And his story is one of the most bizarre, self-destructive falls from grace in Florida rap history. Buckle up. Let's break down exactly how it all went wrong. To understand Kshordy's downfall, you gotta understand where he came from. Northside Jacksonville, Hilltop Apartments, deep in 6-block territory. This wasn't some war zone from day one. Kshordy's mom was there. She worked. She provided roof over his head, food in the fridge, clothes on his back. The basics were covered. But for Kshordy, basics weren't enough. He looked around and saw what other kids had. The chains, the designer clothes, the fresh Jordans every release. He wanted that life, that respect, that status. So at just 13 years old, still a kid by any measure, Kshordy jumped off the porch. No looking back. No second guessing. He dove headfirst into the street life that would eventually consume him. And by the time he turned 16, he was already facing the possibility of dying in prison. 16 years old. Most kids are worried about high school drama, getting their driver's license, maybe their first job. Kshordy, he was staring down 4 counts of attempted murder. Here's what happened. A fight broke out. Standard street beef. Tensions were already high. Someone made a move, tried to snatch Kshordy's weapon right off him. Bad idea. Kshordy wasn't letting that slide. Not in front of people, not when his reputation was on the line. Shots erupted, bodies scattered. The problem? There was a crowd, witnesses everywhere. Because of how many people were in the area when those shots rang out, prosecutors came at him hard. 4 separate counts of attempted murder. 1 for each person they claimed was in the line of fire, and that wasn't even his only case. He was also wanted for armed carjacking at the exact same time. When police finally caught up with him, he was behind the wheel of a stolen car, 16 years old, multiple attempted murders, armed carjacking, riding in a stolen vehicle. Kshordy sat in that cell convinced his life was over before it really started. But then, something unexpected happened. The charges got reduced, dropped down to assault with a deadly weapon. He ended up serving only 18 months in a juvenile facility. 18 months for a case that should have buried him. He walked out thinking he'd dodged a bullet, thinking he'd gotten lucky. What he didn't realize was that this was just the beginning. After his release, Kshordy tried something different. He started taking music seriously. Jacksonville was already on the map. Fulio, Spinabenz, Wapa Wit da Chapa. The city was producing raw talent left and right, and Kshordy had bars. He had stories. He had street credibility that couldn't be faked. His songs started gaining traction. Views were climbing. His name was buzzing in the city. Interviews started rolling in. Dirty Glove Bastard, one of the biggest platforms for up-and-coming street rappers, sat down with him. And during that conversation, Kshordy said something that should have been a turning point. Everyone I looked up to is either dead or locked up. I know the streets ain't worth it. I seen what happens. He knew. He said it with his own mouth, on camera, for the world to hear.
All the people that I looked up to that influenced me to do the stuff that I do, they're locked up. So it's like, what made me think I'm different?
But here's the thing about the streets. Knowing and doing are 2 completely different things. Because even while he was building his music career, even while opportunities were opening up, Kshordy couldn't let go. The streets had hooks in him, and those hooks were about to pull him deeper than he ever imagined. While Kshordy was locked up on his first bid, life kept moving on the outside. His close friend, Lil Bibby, was still out there, still navigating the same dangerous streets. But Bibby started doing something that raised eyebrows. He started hanging around Julio Fulio. Now, if you know anything about Jacksonville, you know that Fulio's name carries serious weight. He's talented, he's controversial, and most importantly, he's a magnet for violence. Being close to Fulio makes you a target. It's just the reality of the situation. Kshordy knew this, and when he heard what Bibby was doing, he reached out. He warned him, told him to stay away, told him it wasn't worth it, but Bibby didn't listen. Or maybe he couldn't listen. Maybe he was already too deep. And then it happened. Lil Bibby got killed. Word on the street said K. So was the one who pulled the trigger. And just like that.
And gunfire erupts inside a Northwest Side apartment complex. It leaves this 16-year-old dead. Neighbors say that the shooting sounded like a war zone.
60 to 70 rounds had to be dropped in the course of maybe 15 seconds.
Kshordy lost one of his closest friends.
When he got killed, it wasn't for him. Like, and that's just me being real. Like, before he died, a week before he died, I called him on the jail phone, and I said, I see you out there. If you return, I see you with Fulio. You doing? I was like, but don't get caught up in that, bro. I was like, you know how bad they want him. They'll get anybody just to hurt him.
But he didn't mourn publicly. He didn't make emotional posts or drop tribute songs right away. He internalized it, let it burn inside him, and then he started planning his revenge. March 17th, 2020, a date that would set off a chain reaction of death and retaliation. Kshordy allegedly tracked down and killed Dequan Saxton. Why? Because Dequan was the brother of the guy who killed Bibby. Blood for blood. Eye for an eye. In Kshordy's mind, this was justice. This was what the streets demanded. But revenge is never clean, and it never ends with just one body. The very next day, less than 24 hours after Dequan's death, Kshordy's mom's house got shot up. Multiple shots fired into the home where his family lived. His mother, his siblings, innocent people who had nothing to do with the beef. That's what retaliation looks like. It doesn't discriminate. 2 days later, March 19th, Kshordy was riding in a car with his girlfriend, Anandi Weiss. They were just driving, maybe trying to lay low, maybe thinking the worst was over. They were wrong. Another car pulled up. Windows came down, and the bullets started flying. Kshordy survived, but Anandi didn't. She was 23 years old. Her whole life ahead of her. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong person to be dating. The shooters were later identified as Roland Ball and Xavier Porter. Both of them had ties to Dequan Saxton, the man Kshordy had allegedly killed just days earlier. Xavier Porter even sent text messages afterward admitting it was revenge. Straight up confessed the motive. And this is where Kshordy's story takes its most controversial turn. Kshordy sat in that interrogation room, grieving, angry, broken. Detectives brought in a photo lineup, asked him to identify anyone he recognized. And Kshordy pointed. He identified Roland Ball in the streets. There's no worse label than snitch. It's a death sentence to your reputation. But Kshordy did it anyway. Now, he would later claim that detectives manipulated him emotionally, that they used Anandi's death to break him down in that moment. He tried to recant his identification, tried to take it back in court. The judge didn't buy it. The identification stood. The damage was done. Kshordy had officially cooperated with police. But here's what makes his story absolutely wild. Even while that case was playing out, even while he was labeled a snitch, Kshordy was still active in the streets, still sliding on ops, still living that life. He didn't hide. He didn't relocate. He didn't go low. He doubled down. By 2021, Kshordy was back in the booth, dropping music again. But the tone had shifted. Every track was aggressive. Every verse was personal. And his main target, Julio Fulio.Kshordy, went at Fulio's neck relentlessly. He dissed him for not avenging his fallen homies, Spaz 2X, Rod K, and others who had been killed. He mocked Fulio's mother getting shot, questioning why Fulio hadn't done anything about it. He called Fulio fake, said Fulio didn't help him when he got out, said he was moving funny. The disrespect was blatant. The shots were personal. And Fulio, he wasn't the type to stay quiet. He responded with straight facts. A track aimed directly at Kshordy. Fulio went straight for the jugular, brought up Anandi's death. Said Kshordy couldn't even protect his own girl. Said Kshordy was a fake street dude, a fake tough guy. The tension between them was explosive. Every song, every Instagram post, every subliminal. It was only a matter of time before something else popped off. Just months after Anandi's murder, Kshordy found himself in another shootout. Police got the call about shots fired. When they arrived, they found Kshordy wounded, and right next to him, a rifle, a mask, all the evidence they needed. They ran the DNA on the weapon. It came back positive for Kshordy. No way to deny it. His prints were all over it. He got hit with being a gang-affiliated felon in possession of a firearm. But prosecutors didn't stop at the physical evidence. They pulled up his song On Yo Ass, one of his most popular tracks, and used his own lyrics against him in court, bar for bar, line for line. They used his art to build their case. Kshordy bonded out, again, but the pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. He couldn't stay out of trouble, couldn't stay away from the violence, and it was about to cost him everything. September 2021, a gas station on a regular afternoon, Kshordy and his associate 2FO allegedly pulled up with a plan. The target? Spinabenz, one of their most prominent ops. But Spinabenz wasn't alone that day. Before his murder trial could even start, Kshordy had to face his gun charge first, the one where his DNA was on the weapon, where his lyrics were used as evidence. The case went to trial.
You are being charged with second-degree murder and possession of firearm by a juvenile delinquent.
How?
and the jury came back with a guilty verdict. Most people would take the L, stay quiet, and hope for mercy. Not Kshordy. After being convicted, he stood up in court and mocked the judge. He said that inmates called Judge Anthony Salem sent him home Salem because of how lenient he was.
Was it true that they call you send him home Salem? In the jailhouse?
I'm sorry, say what?
In the jailhouse, they call you send him home Salem,
Send him home Salem?
I guess.
He laughed about it, thought it was funny. Judge Salem didn't laugh. He looked Kshordy dead in the eyes and sentenced him to 12 years. No leniency, no mercy, no second chances. Kshordy had sealed his own fate with his mouth. Now Kshordy sits in a cell, waiting for his murder trial, and his legal team makes a move that shocks everyone. They attempt to subpoena Spinabenz, his op, the guy he tried to kill, and to testify for him in court. Think about that for a second. The same dude you shot at. The same dude whose friend got killed in the ambush. You want him to come save you? Spinabenz responded exactly how you'd expect. He clowned Kshordy on Instagram, posted screenshots, made jokes, then he dropped a whole song about it. Letter to Kshordy. It's desperation at its peak. A Hail Mary that'll never work. But it shows just how far Kshordy has fallen. But the story gets even messier. Rumors started circulating that Tufo, Kshordy's co-defendant in the murder case, might be cooperating with police. That he might flip. That he might talk. And it doesn't stop there. Fo's own brother, John Wall, already took a plea deal in another murder case. John Wall testified against his own people, snitched to save himself. Even though he's still facing a potential life sentence. He talked, real voice, court documents read, and people started asking the question, if everyone around Kshordy is talking, how long before he does too? In his song, Let's Do It, Kshordy literally rapped about having 4 bodies. Now prosecutors have that on record. And if he wants any chance at avoiding life, he might have to explain every single one. The walls are closing in. Kshordy had it all in front of him. Talent, a growing fan base, a way out of the streets through music, but he couldn't let go, couldn't choose a side. He wanted to be a rapper and a street legend, a musician and a shooter. He snitched on his ops, then slid on them anyway. He mocked a judge and got the maximum sentence. He tried to kill Spinabenz, then begged him to testify on his behalf. Now he's staring down a potential life sentence with no clear way out. Both Kshordy and 2FO remain locked up, waiting for their day in court. No confirmed plea deals yet. No trial date set in stone, but one thing's for sure, the streets don't forget. And the system doesn't forgive. This is what happens when you try to play both sides, when you think the rules don't apply to you. Shorty wanted respect in the streets and success in music. He lost both, and now, all he has left is time. Time to think about every decision that led him here. Time to wonder what could have been if he'd just walked away when he had the chance. But in Jacksonville, walking away isn't easy, and for Kshordy, it's too late. That's the story of Kshordy, from rising star to cautionary tale. If you want more deep dives into the untold stories of street culture and hip-hop, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment with who you want us to cover next. And stay tuned, because we're just getting started.